Have you ever felt like you were being distanced from everything and everyone without any logical explanation? As if suddenly, friendships began to fade, invitations stopped coming, and even family members started to drift away, as if an invisible veil was being placed between you and the rest of the world. Maybe you asked yourself if you did something wrong. Maybe you tried to adapt, to fit in, to hold on to connections that no longer flowed, all in the name of a sense of belonging that seemed to dissolve before your eyes. But what if I told you that this silence, this separation, this solitude is actually preparation? What if what you interpreted as rejection was, in truth, a silent consecration for something greater? This video is not just another piece of content. It is a spiritual sign, a divine reminder for the real chosen ones marked with the letter M and the crescent moon who are going through a deep season of isolation not because of weakness, but because of purpose. If you feel like you've been separated from everything, stay here. Because what is about to be revealed will speak directly to the center of your soul. Comment the number 111 below if you feel this message is for you. That number symbolizes divine preparation, and those who comment are, symbolically, accepting the higher calling. And if this message found you at the right moment, subscribe to the channel now. Not because I'm asking, but because your soul needs to stay connected to the revelations that are coming. You are not alone, and everything that is happening has a reason. It takes courage to understand that solitude, when guided by God, is not abandonment. It is a silent calling. Most people believe that being alone is a sign of social or spiritual failure, as if isolation reflected not being good enough, loved enough, or accepted enough. But those who carry the spiritual marks of the letter M and the crescent moon know, even if unconsciously, that this was never true. The separation you're experiencing is not punitive, it's selective. You weren't excluded, you were hidden. And this hiding is not by chance. It is the invisible touch of the divine, pulling you away from noise, distractions, and energies that could compromise your mission. When God chooses someone for a deep spiritual task, He doesn't launch them straight into the center of the crowd. First, He separates them. He cleanses them. He breaks them. Only then does He elevate them. So if you feel like the world has lost interest in you, that the invitations have stopped, that people no longer see you the same way, know this: heaven is seeing you more clearly than ever. What the world calls rejection, the universe calls refinement. The isolation of the real chosen ones is sacred ground. It's the womb where the new spiritual identity is born, where old beliefs die, where the soul is refined, where sensitivity sharpens and dormant gifts awaken. There is no revelation without preparation, and no preparation without silence. Those who are spiritually mocked carry a vibration that does not match commonplaces. And that's why isolation doesn't just happen, it's necessary. God is not punishing you. He's preparing you for something most around you couldn't even handle touching. There's something the chosen ones marked with the letter M and the crescent moon begin to perceive in silence, long before they understand why. They make others uncomfortable. Not because they're arrogant, superior, or visibly different. They disturb simply by being present. You enter a space and feel the stares piercing your skin, forced smiles, people changing the subject when you approach, others avoiding you for no reason. And no matter how kind, discreet, or even smaller you try to make yourself to avoid the discomfort, it still happens. But the truth is, it's not you who unsettles people. It's the light you carry, even if you don't see it yet. The vibration of the chosen touches subtle dimensions, and when you come near someone who lives in lies, superficiality, or emotional darkness, your energy field becomes a mirror, a spiritual reflection that reveals what the other doesn't want to see in themselves. Your presence exposes what others try to hide. That's why in many environments, you become a target of rejection, gossip, judgment, or silent distance. It's not personal, it's spiritual. To carry an energy marked by God is to walk with a seal that only spiritual eyes can read. And sometimes, that means attracting negative reactions without even saying a word. Not because you did anything, but because your energy does something. It activates, it unmasks, it exposes. That's why isolation happens. So you won't lose yourself trying to belong where your soul no longer fits. You weren't born to be understood by everyone. You were born to obey a calling that not everyone will hear. And yes, that hurts. But it also sets you free. Because the moment you realize that other people's discomfort is not your fault but a sign of your alignment, you stop apologizing for being who you are and start stepping into the place that was prepared for you. If you look closely at your spiritual journey, you will notice that people began to leave your life without much explanation. Some simply drifted away, others revealed sides of themselves you never imagined. And there were even those who seemed essential, but suddenly they were swept away like leaves in the wind. And even though it brought pain, a part of you knew it was necessary. When the universe is about to activate a chosen one, it doesn't allow their energy to remain entangled with connections that drain, weaken, or divert their purpose. There is an invisible protection that begins to operate without your conscious permission. And it manifests in surprising ways, relationships ending without a clear reason, plans falling through, people pulling away without explanation. It all seems confusing at first, but over time, everything makes sense. Spirituality sees what you don't yet perceive. It detects hidden intentions, silent burdens, karmic ties you are carrying out of habit or affection. That's why, when the time for activation arrives, heaven moves on your behalf even if, at first, it feels like everything is falling apart. This is not the end. It is the beginning of a purification. This shielding isn't just protection, it's a sign that your soul is being elevated to a new level of consciousness. And in this new place, old connections can no longer exist. The frequency has shifted. And those who aren't aligned will fall away. If you try to maintain those connections by force, the universe corrects you. You feel a heaviness, unease, an unexplained emptiness. Because where there is no truth, there can be no permanence. The chosen one can no longer remain where there is deception. They can't be nourished by bonds that suppress their essence. The solitude that follows is real, but it is also sacred. It is the silence required for you to hear the only voice that truly matters, the voice of your mission. And that voice only reveals itself when all other noise is silenced. There's a reason why so many chosen ones are beginning to awaken at the same time. There's a reason why you've started to feel things you can't explain, to notice signs you didn't see before, and to pull away from what once felt like part of your routine, as if something inside you is crying out for change, for silence, for truth. It's not a coincidence, it's a calling. The year 2025 carries the energy of collective activation for those marked with the letter M and the crescent moon. A spiritual generation is being awakened not by accident, but by urgency. These souls aren't here to repeat the old patterns, they're here to break them. You might try to ignore this, to live as if nothing is happening. But something inside you won't let you. There is a sacred restlessness that keeps you from getting lost in the superficial. There is a silent fire burning within you, and it's tied to something far greater than your personal life. It's tied to a spiritual plan that is now being revealed. The chosen ones were not called to please, to fit in, or to be accepted. They were called to represent justice, restoration, and truth in a world where those virtues have become rare. And that's why isolation happens. You cannot pour new oil into old wineskins. You cannot manifest divine light in an environment that conspires to extinguish it. You were set apart to be trained. You were silenced to hear what no one else can hear. 2025 is more than a year. It is a crossing. Those who remain faithful to the calling even without understanding it all will see doors open, gifts manifest, spiritual connections arise, and paths they never imagined unfold before their feet. But before that comes the preparation. And that preparation demands faith, courage, and solitude. Few people can withstand prolonged silence. Few can endure the absence of answers, the pause in relationships, the breaking of cycles that once seemed vital. But those who have been spiritually marked know, even if they can't put it into words, that something sacred is happening in that empty space. The solitude faced by the chosen ones is not merely a symptom of social detachment. It is a spiritual space carefully constructed by the universe itself to give birth to a new version of who they are. It is in the womb of solitude that the deepest truths emerge. It is in that secret place, where no one sees, that the soul is stitched back together, where wounds gain meaning, and where the Spirit of God speaks most clearly. The world calls it crisis, but heaven calls it gestation. And what is being formed is your revelation. You were distanced from people who could never handle the version of you that is being born. You were protected from environments that would crush the seed still germinating within. God does not expose what is still in formation. That's why He hid you. That's why the silence. That's why the feeling of invisibility. It was all part of a plan that is now beginning to be revealed. The pain of isolation is real, but it is not eternal. It exists to transform, to break the ego, to refine the soul, to remove the excess weight of the past. And once that process ends, there is no going back to who you were. Because now, you are someone who carries within the living proof that heaven has touched you. Don't try to rush the process. Don't try to escape it. The cocoon may seem dark, but it is there that the butterfly receives her wings. There is a moment in the journey of the chosen one when everything seems to stop. Nothing moves forward. Answers don't come. Prayers seem to echo into emptiness. People vanish, paths close. It is the quietest point of the crossing, and also the most dangerous. Dangerous, because in that silence, many believe they've been forgotten, that God is no longer listening, that the mission has lost its meaning, that maybe it was all just an illusion. But what few understand is that this is the exact moment when something tremendous is being aligned in the invisible realms of the Spirit. God's greatest movements in the lives of the chosen don't happen under the spotlight. They are born in the dark, in the cave, in the desert, in the total absence of visible signs. When everything seems still, breathe. You may not see it, but heaven is in motion. You may not feel it, but your energy is being refined. You may not hear it, but your name is being whispered in the corridors of the spiritual realm. It is in this time that the seed dies to itself so it can break through the soil and be born to the sky. You are not on pause, you are in process. And those who remain faithful in this silence will witness the manifestation of healing, of reconnection with purpose, of pathways opening, of true spiritual allies arriving. Everything that once seemed distant, impossible, or invisible will become tangible. But for that to happen, the silence must do its work. It must empty you of ego expectations, worldly distractions, and past wounds. Only then will there be space for the new. At some point in the spiritual journey of the chosen, an invisible rupture occurs, an inner breaking that forces them to turn inward. What once seemed important starts to lose its shine. Material achievements no longer satisfy. People's approval stops being a priority. The search for belonging fades. And a silent question begins to echo in the heart. Who am I when I'm no longer who the world expects me to be? That moment, though disorienting, is the beginning of reconnection with your essence. Those marked with the letter M and the crescent moon were spiritually designed to live outside the mold. They do not fit into frames because they were created to break paradigms. That's why the isolation is not just physical or emotional. It is, above all, a call to inner truth. The universe removes what is external so you can recover what is eternal. When everything around you ceases to make sense, it's because the time has come to remember the essence of your soul. The calling is not to have more, but to be more. More conscious, more profound, more aligned with the spiritual origin of your existence. You didn't come to this world just to exist. You came to anchor light, to restore frequencies, to remind people of what they've forgotten. But before fulfilling that purpose, it was necessary to return to your origin, that sacred place where you hear God without intermediaries, where you feel the truth without needing anyone to validate it. There is a truth that few have the courage to face. Before every divine manifestation, there is a crossing. And that crossing isn't made amid applause, recognition, or understanding. It's made in the dark, in the deepest silence of the soul. The chosen ones marked with the letter M and the crescent moon are going through that moment right now. It's as if the universe has closed the curtains of the outer world to initiate an intimate, sacred, and non-transferable process. But what seems like a pause is actually a rebirth. The time of isolation, in spiritual language, is the time of temple preparation. And the temple is you. You are being aligned with what you asked for even without knowing. You are being cleansed of everything that cannot go with you on the path to the promise. People are being removed. Habits are being broken. Illusions are being torn down, not to punish you, but to make space. Space for what truly holds eternal value. Maybe you're feeling like everything is taking too long. Maybe you're tired of starting over, of waiting, of carrying a purpose that no one else seems to see or understand. But it is exactly there, in that space where everything seems still, that miracles begin to move. Because God never acts through anxiety, He acts through complete preparation. You were not set apart because you're behind. You were set apart because you're ahead. You carry codes, frequencies, and visions the world is not ready for yet. That's why heaven has withdrawn you temporarily, like a rare jewel being protected from being wasted among common stones. But the ego doesn't understand this process. It wants to be seen, it wants validation, it wants to know the next step. But the spirit understands that something greater is happening. And this something greater cannot be explained, only lived. During this silent crossing, heaven is testing your consistency. It wants to see if you remain faithful when no one is watching, if you keep praying even when the sky seems silent, if you keep your light burning even when everything around you is dark. Because it is precisely that silent faithfulness that separates the curious from the truly called. The pain of being unseen is real, but it is the seal of those who carry a prophetic destiny. You feel like you don't fit in, like you no longer belong in the old places, like your vision goes far beyond the average. That's not arrogance, that's calling. It is the confirmation that you've been set apart to prepare the way for others who are yet to come. And as lonely as this mission may seem now, the time of convergence will come. The time when the marked ones will begin to find each other. When the chosen, scattered across the four corners, will recognize one another by the light in their eyes, by the vibration of the soul, by the shared silence. That time is coming. But for now, heaven is still molding you. And when everything is ready, nothing, absolutely nothing, will be able to stop the manifestation of the promise. Stay the course. Have you ever wondered why, even though you're loyal, intuitive, generous, and spiritual, you still seem invisible to others? Why, even when you do good, carry a pure soul, and walk with a divine mission, you don't receive the recognition, support, or even the understanding of the people around you? The spiritual answer is direct and profound, because you are still in the process of sacred concealment. Those chosen and marked with the letter M and the crescent moon were never meant to shine too soon. The light they carry is far too intense to be exposed before its time. It's like a star in formation. If revealed before its core is solid, it risks collapsing under pressure. That's why the universe hides you. You are seen just enough to keep going, but not enough to settle. That's why people with less capacity get the spotlight, while you with immense spiritual potential remain in the quiet. That's why, even when you help everyone, in the moment you need help, no one seems to notice your pain. That's why, even after being faithful through every season, you still haven't reaped what you know has been promised to you. But listen carefully. Not being recognized now doesn't mean you've been forgotten. It simply means the platform upon which your light will be revealed is still being built. You weren't called to be popular. You were called to be prophetic. And the difference between the two is in the timing of the revelation. Those who are popular rise quickly and fade just as fast. Those who are prophetic are shaped slowly, and they endure. Don't resent the delay. It is protection. Don't beg for recognition. It will come, and with honor. Those who ignore you today will witness the glory that will be manifested when heaven says, "Now." There is a moment that shifts the entire trajectory of the chosen one. It is not announced with trumpets. It doesn't arrive marked on a calendar. Sometimes it shows up on the most ordinary day, at the most unexpected time, when you least expect it. That moment is when heaven silently whispers, "Now." And everything changes. Suddenly, the pain starts to make sense. The doors that were locked for years open as if they were never shut. The right people begin to appear. The vision you held in secret finally finds fertile ground. Your energy aligns with divine synchronicity, and what was once blocked begins to flow. It's not about luck. It's not coincidence. It's divine timing. And that time only arrives for those who endured the silence, walked through the desert, and didn't give up in the dark. You are being refined, not just to shine, but to sustain the light once it is finally revealed. This now is not magic. It is built, day after day, in silent faithfulness, in obedience to the invisible calling, in refusing shortcuts, in resisting the temptation to return to the comfort of the past. When heaven says now, everything that once seemed stuck will be pushed forward by the power of the promise. And you will understand why so many doors had to close, why so many people had to walk away, why the path had to be lonely. You will see that none of it was in vain, because that moment will come. And when it does, no one will be able to stop it. No one will be able to deny it. And no one will dare say it was luck, because you'll know, only you and God, the price that was paid in silence to get there. Until then, remain, because your hour is closer than you think. Chosen one, if you've made it this far, allow yourself to take a deep breath and feel, because maybe, more than just content, what you received today was a reminder, a soft whisper from your own soul saying, "You are on the right path. You were not born to fit into frames. You were not born to be defined by pixels, angles, or filters. You carry too much light to be compressed into a single image. Your real reflection is not in photographs, it's in the fruit you bear, in the environments you transform, in the souls that awaken simply by being near you. Those who carry the spiritual marks of the letter M and the crescent moon were sealed for an invisible mission before being seen by the world. They were hidden not out of weakness, but for protection. And no, if you are hearing this, it means the time has come to understand. Your light was never meant to be contained. It was meant to set the world on fire with truth, justice, and restoration. The doors that didn't open were guarding you from places where your soul would have withered. The people who walked away were being removed from your path so you wouldn't get lost. The silence you endured was God speaking to you in a language only the chosen can understand. And now, what will you do with this? If this message touched your soul, comment the number 111 below. That number represents the complete divine cycle, body, soul, and spirit being aligned with the original plan. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, now is the time. Because the revelations to come won't be just words. They will be spiritual codes your soul will recognize as memories of home. Chosen one, you are being revealed now, because the world needs your light.